Bombing is unique in being both one of the fastest but also hardest methods of taking out a tank. But with this skill mastered, you can absolutely demolish any raiders you come across. That is why I'm going to try and teach you the 3 most common bombing methods. Make sure to pay attention and watch the full video. If you don't pay good attention, I promise you will fail at bombing. If you have any trouble understanding what I am saying, please check the captions. The first method we will go over is the triple L method. It's called this because you fly at a low throttle, at a low altitude, and level or almost level to the ground. Now let's go over the pros and cons of this bombing method. For the pros, we got easiest for beginners, best method during trainings, a large window to drop your bomb. For the cons, we got extremely easy to be shot down by anti-air during approach, highly vulnerable to enemy aircraft, mild to severe damage can occur to you and or your aircraft if you fly too low, easy to stall out because of low throttle. Now I know that's a lot of cons, but trust me, this is the best method by far if you are learning bombing. Here are 3 quick examples of the triple L bombing method. Next, we have the dive method. In the dive method, you head towards the tank at a high speed at around a 45-degree dive, then you drop and violently pull up. This method is far harder than the triple L method and looks way easier than it actually is. You have a much smaller window to drop your bomb and a greater chance of missing. For the pros of this method, we got best method in most combat situations, harder for enemy aircraft to take you out as fast, little chance of your bomb damaging you or your plane. For the cons, we got way harder to be accurate with bombs, violent dives can lead to you stalling, still somewhat easy to be taken out by anti-air. Here are 3 quick examples of the dive bombing method. Lastly, there's the triple H method. The 3 H's standing for high altitude, high throttle, and high chance of failure. This method is only useful when enemy anti-air or planes prevent the use of other methods. It involves very steep and fast dives and is the hardest method to learn and has the least accuracy. For the pros of this method, we got near immunity to anti-aircraft fire, very hard for enemy aircraft to take you out while performing. For the cons, we got very high chance of crashing into the ground, highest chance of missing out of all methods, significant chance of blowing yourself up. Here are 3 quick examples of the triple H bombing method. Now technically there's one more bombing method that is used pretty commonly. This is the bomb spam method. By now you might have realized there's no reload or cooldown after you drop a bomb. This is because there is none. There's nothing stopping you from dropping all 6 of your bombs at once. To help boost the chances of their bomb landing, several people drop more than 1 bomb at a time. The reason you shouldn't do this is because bombs usually one-shot tanks. So when you bomb spam, you are wasting a lot of unnecessary bombs. Another reason is because you're still likely to miss when bomb spamming. The only difference compared to other methods is that instead of just missing one of your bombs, you miss with multiple bombs. And as I said before, you only have 6 bombs. Almost every time I see people bomb spam during trainings, they run out of bombs very quickly and then fail. Dropping 1 bomb at a time gives you more attempts to hit a tank and a chance to hit more tanks than if you bomb spammed. So please, if you want to pass, only drop 1 bomb at a time. Now that you've learned the basics of the methods, here's a quick overview of each method. Before we get into the specifics of each method, we'll go over the basics of bombing. To drop a bomb, press the B key. The Ju87 only has 6 bombs, and these can be refilled at bomb refill stations on Innsbruck. In the Ju87, you will see this circle in line when you are flying. Most people think the circle is the bomb's kill radius. This is very wrong and leads to the most common reason people think bombs are broken. This is the infantry kill radius and not the vehicle kill radius. The only way your bomb will damage a tank is if it hits the tank directly. This is what makes bombing as difficult as it is. On the other hand, the line is a close approximation of where the bomb will land. It is not 100% accurate, especially when diving, but it is mostly reliable. The last thing I'll say is make sure the bomb has a clear path from your plane to the tank. The bomb indicator does not account for things like buildings or trees in the way. If a bomb hits these, they will explode way earlier than you thought they would and usually kill you. Now I'm going to teach you how to apply the triple L bombing method. The most important part is to be very gentle with the controls while using this method. You will be flying right on the edge of stalling, so if you do not fly level, you will stall out. You must remain as level as possible and increase your throttle before pitching up. With that, the first part of this method is the approach. The best way to increase your chance of taking out the tank is coming at it from the front or back. This is due to an increased area for your bomb to land, as well as not needing to account for the tank's left or right movements. When you fly such low throttle, your bomb indicator will be obscured by the plane. This is the reason we turn 90 degrees to the left or right. This way it allows you to have a better visual of where your bomb will land. Past that, right-clicking to zoom in further helps you know the perfect time to drop your bomb. Now for the approach, come in far away to give yourself plenty of time to line up with the tank during your approach. Only decrease your throttle to 55% once you are level with the ground. If you are on Herman, make sure to close chat as it covers important aircraft information. As you come in, make sure to be very careful with your altitude. If you are too high, you will miss, and if you are too low, you will blow yourself up. Lastly, try and drop the bomb directly in the middle of the tank. And most importantly, if you are not confident you'll hit the tank, then do not drop. You only have 6 bombs, so you cannot afford to waste them. Just fly past the tank, then circle back until you have a good approach. And lastly, as soon as you drop the bomb, make sure to punch the throttle to help get out of the bomb's blast radius. But do not violently pitch up, as increasing your throttle does not instantly increase your speed. After you drop a bomb with this method, make sure to check your player health before going for another tank. Multiple drops one after the other can easily kill you with how much damage you take. On Innsbruck, I'd recommend bringing bandages to heal yourself after dropping. Now here's a quick demonstration of what this method looks like. So for this method, you come in, you see the tank you want, then you start gaining some distance. Then once you've gained enough distance, you start flying level, then you decrease your throttle to 55%. You turn 90 degrees to the left or right, then you zoom in. Then you head directly at the tank. See how I came at from the front, then you drop your bomb directly in the middle of the tank. I dropped a little late, but still got it. Lastly, I'll show you some common errors while using this method. The most common thing I see is coming at the tank too high. Trust me, if you go this high, the only way your bomb is hitting the tank is with sheer luck. Another common thing I see is coming in too low. If you do this, you will blow yourself up, so you have to be very careful with how low you come in. Now the most common and deadly error I see is when people don't fly in a way that is safe for such a low throttle. 55% throttle, you will not be able to pitch up without stalling, and you will not recover from dives. The reason you fly at this speed is it gives you more time to drop the bomb and still hit the tank, but this is not a speed you want to fly at otherwise. And that is why you only decrease your throttle once you are level during the approach, and then you speed up after dropping your bomb. The last thing I'll tell you about with this method is that if you stall, do not punch your throttle. Because of your low altitude, if you start stalling, there's a 99% chance you are going to hit the ground. The only difference is that if you hit the ground with your throttle over 75%, you will explode, while if your throttle is below 75%, you will only bounce off the ground. Now on to the dive method. In the dive method, you will start by gaining a lot of distance from the tank and climbing to a somewhat high altitude. Once you are far enough away, turn around and enter a 20 to 50 degree dive towards the tank. Your throttle should be 80 to 100%. This is because the higher your throttle is, the farther away the bomb indicator will go in front of your plane, which will make it easier to see where your bomb will land without needing to fly jackknife. Timing is very important in this method, and once the bomb indicator line is over the middle of the tank, then drop your bomb and snap your plane up. It's a lot easier to miss with this method, but it's faster and safer when it comes to enemy aircraft and possibly blowing yourself up or crashing. Do not attempt this method in trainings and make sure to practice it a lot before trying to use it on Innsbruck. Now here's a quick demonstration of what this method looks like. Alright, so for this method, I pick the tank I want and I'm already at high enough altitude. Then I turn and begin diving. Then right at just the right time I drop the bomb, pull up, and hit the tank. Lastly, I'll show you some common errors while using this method. The most common mistake I see is diving at too high of an angle. This makes recovering from the dive far harder and it's easier for you to miss. The second most common mistake I see is having too low of a throttle and because of that, failing to recover from dives. The last method I'll go over is the Triple H bombing method. I want to once again say, this method should only be used in the presence of heavy anti-air or enemy aircraft. Without tons of practice, you are more likely to crash into the ground than you are to actually take out a tank. For this method, you will start by increasing your throttle to 100% and waiting for your speed to finish increasing. Then fly straight up to an altitude of 3,000 to 8,000 before turning to an almost 90-degree dive. During your dive, try to stay lined up with the tank as much as possible. You can decrease your throttle during the dive to give yourself more time to line up with the tank, but do not decrease your throttle below 55% as stalling will make you fall faster. And if you do not increase your throttle back up to 100% by the time you drop, you are almost guaranteed to crash. The lower you drop your bomb, the more accurate you'll be, but you'll also have a higher chance of crashing. Now here's a quick demonstration of what this method looks like. So in this method, I start at the ground and I pick the tank I want. Then as soon as I see the tank, I fly straight up and notice that I was already at 100% throttle. And I just gain a ton of altitude. Then once I'm at around 5,000 altitude, I'll begin turning and diving towards the tank. And as I'm diving, I'm trying to line up perfectly with the tank to increase my chances of hitting it. Once again, I'm hitting it from the front to increase the chances that the bomb will land. At just the right time, I drop and pull up. Then I accidentally almost close the Roblox, but you see the point. Lastly, I'll show two common errors while using this method. The most common thing I see is crashing into the ground. Remembering to pull up in time and flying at 100% throttle is the key to avoiding this. Next, I'll be teaching you some basic ways to survive ground-to-air and air-to-air attacks. Firstly, I'll go over survival techniques against ground-to-air attacks. Most importantly is that you never fly directly towards an anti-aircraft vehicle. The most effective way to avoid anti-aircraft fire is to fly parallel to the vehicle at a high altitude, making up and down movements. The Triple H method is the most effective at taking out anti-aircraft vehicles because they cannot shoot directly up. Because the Ju87 is very bad at dogfighting, it is best to avoid dogfights in it. If an enemy plane engages you, try quick changes in throttle and sharp turns to survive long enough for a friendly aircraft to save you. Now for a quick recap of the three bombing methods. The Triple L method is best for beginners, best during trainings, and best when there is no anti-air. The dive method is generally best on Innsbruck with low to moderate anti-air presence. The Triple H method is very dangerous and inaccurate and should only be used with high levels of anti-air present. If you are new, it is very highly recommended that you use the Triple L method as it is the easiest and most consistent to learn. Many people fail at bombing due to trying methods that they don't fully understand and haven't practiced. We want you to succeed at bombing, so please start off with the Triple L method and practice as much as you can. But before this video ends, I want to give some quick reminders to members of the 346 Bombardment Squadron. The person with the most qualifying confirmed bomb kills will get 500 Robux at the end of each month. You'll earn 10 Robux for each person you recruit into the squadron by hosting their trial, paid out monthly. And there will be a Nitro giveaway once the squadron reaches 50 members. For more information on any of these, check the squadron Trello. Lastly, I want to remind everyone that there's a quota of attending or hosting 2 squadron events per month.